All Indiana Politics
is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett still is refusing to answer questions about sexual harassment allegations involving his former chief of staff. And at least one member of his own party wants him to resign. Thomas Cook was Hogsett's chief deputy mayor until December of 2020. Former deputy campaign manager Lauren Roberts says she complained to Hogsett as early as May of 2017 about pervasive sexual harassment from Cook. Meanwhile, former mayor's office staffer Caroline Ellert says Cook harassed her from 2018 to 2020. Both women sat down with our Kyla Russell.
You came forward a little over 3 weeks ago. Tell me a little bit about what the last few weeks have been like for you. I mean, has there been broad support, backlash, everything in between? Tell me.
I feel very lucky. I had a lot of people reach out to me, former coworkers, very supportive, which I won't say I wasn't expecting that, but I was bracing myself for the worst. So there's really been mostly support and very few detractors, but it's definitely very overwhelming.
I keep saying it's like an alternate universe that I'm in right now because this isn't the first time I've spoken out. I started posting publicly on social media in 2017 around the same time I first reached out to the mayor to report what happened to me. But this is the first time I've had any kind of platform or that I was ready to talk to press about it, and especially not being alone is a really nice change. And I'm very grateful for the reaction so far. It's been strange to watch my story, our stories, get used as this political football to score points between parties. But I do feel like it's making a change, and that feels good.
When you all first came forward last month, the mayor shared a statement with us. He started by condemning the conduct that had been reported. And then he went on to say each complaint at the time it was reported was taken seriously, investigated, and resulted in sanctions. Do you agree that that's what occurred at that time?
Absolutely not. Sorry, Justin.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So when I first reached out to him in 2017, I didn't hear a word back. I don't believe he is telling the truth about a 2017 investigation. I was never interviewed to this day. I have never seen documentation of an investigation or of the sanctions he says were placed on Thomas that fall. And regardless, even if that were true, my report came forward in May. He says he disciplined Thomas in October. So what was going on between that time? October 2017 also happens to be when Tarana Burke's Me Too movement went viral, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So until I see documentation of an investigation and a very good explanation as to why I, as the person reporting, was never interviewed, I'm very skeptical.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that even if sanctions were made in that October 2017 timeline, it clearly didn't work because I was already beginning to experience that. So I think it should be less about checking a box to say that you did something and more about a meaningful good faith effort to actually fix the problem and hold people accountable. I went to the mayor in September of last year, September of 2023, and I asked for Thomas to have his contracts removed from the city. I asked him to be removed from his position on the campaign, which those things happened, but I also asked for a stronger reporting system that actually encouraged people to come forward because I didn't feel like that was that was in place, and that still has not happened. So I wish that my concerns had been taken seriously then. I also wish that Lauren's concerns had been taken seriously at the time, because it might have prevented what happened to me. The other thing that bothers me about the city's statement is that they say I reported a romantic relationship. I reported that he sexually assaulted me. I reported that he was abusive to me, that he abused his position of power. So that sort of indicates to me that the full scope of what we experienced has not been taken seriously. I also brought up the point that Thomas still had work with the city through his clients, and I was essentially told that if you are contracted with the city and you are harassing a city employee, there's essentially nothing the city can do about it, which seems like a huge gap that I wish had been addressed. So I wish it didn't take this for our concerns to be heard, but I hope that now they will actually be taken seriously.
At least one Democratic city county council member has called for the mayor to resign. Do you believe Mayor Joe Hogsett should step down?
So I don't think that's up to us. What we want to do is tell our story, and we want people to be held accountable where that's appropriate, but this is about more than one person or two people. It's about the systems upholding powerful men and letting them continue to get away with this. So I think it's more productive for us to focus on the system as a whole and how we can all be part of changing that.
And regardless of who is mayor and at the top of that power pyramid, if the system doesn't change in a meaningful way, and I don't mean just policy and procedure and what's on paper, I mean the culture too, which I hope is shifting, things will continue to happen if the culture hasn't changed and the policies haven't changed. So regardless of who's mayor, we want the system to be different.
Now, Hogsett did address the allegations against Cook during his budget presentation Monday night. Ellert and Roberts were in the audience that night, and Hogsett apologized to them. To date, they are the only remarks he's made public about Roberts and Ellert.
As has been reported in recent weeks, members of my campaign and this administration had to endure completely unacceptable and reprehensible conduct engaged in by my former chief of staff. His conduct was a betrayal of the trust placed in him as a public official, a betrayal of my trust, and most importantly, a violation of the city's responsibility to ensure safety and well-being for all employees. To former City of Indianapolis employee Caroline Ellert and former campaign employee Lauren Roberts, who I believe are with us tonight, I want to tell you both, and the third anonymous individual who also shared her story, how sorry I am for the harm that has occurred, and I apologize profoundly. There are no words to adequately acknowledge the bravery and the strength that you all have shown by coming forward to tell your stories and to advocate for systemic change across the city-county enterprise in the way that we protect our employees from sex harassment and associated retaliation. No one can possibly understand the pain that you have endured. But know that your decision to speak out for changes to better protect women and men of this city has not been in vain.
All right, coming up, another candidate for governor releases their tax plan. We take a closer look at Jenifer McCormick's ideas coming up next. Welcome back. Democratic candidate for governor Jenifer McCormick wants to limit how much your property taxes can grow. She also wants to expand the deductions that you can take. Our government reporter Garrett Berquist explains what's in it for you.
McCormick's plan combines several proposals Republican and Democratic state lawmakers floated this past session. She says she wanted ideas that have already been vetted by state budget analysts and will affect a lot of people.
McCormick says she wants to focus on all taxes, not just property taxes.
We didn't want to just target certain groups and then call it a day, because as I said, Terry and I have been traveling every corner of the state, and we know people are asking for that relief. We also did not want to shift this burden to farmers and business and renters.
McCormick wants to increase the maximum homeowner property tax deduction to $3,500. She also wants to boost the amount of state and local income tax deduction to $2,500. If your property taxes grow by more than 10% for a given year, you would receive a refundable tax credit. And she wants to increase eligibility for senior citizen and disabled veteran deductions. State fiscal analysts have calculated those ideas would cost about $600 million per year. McCormick says her plan would put the state on the hook for most of that lost revenue, rather than local governments. I asked McCormick how she squares that with her call to increase teacher pay.
You know, if we look holistically at the programs that are going in education, we've got $1.6 billion now that have gone from public schools to private schools. So there is money. There is money. It's just a matter of reprioritizing and doing what we can do with that.
An IU economist says it's certainly within the legislature's power to do that if they choose. He says the main difference between McCormick's plan and those of Mike Braun and Donald Rainwater is how it affects local governments.
Property tax bills are the revenue source for local governments. So the other candidates have focused on restricting the ability of local governments to have property taxes or derive revenue from property taxes. And McCormick's proposal is having the state be a co-payer of property taxes in a sort.
Ross says no matter who wins, it's ultimately up to you to claim any new tax breaks they offer.
McCormick's campaign says her plan could be implemented in time to save money on your May property tax bill. I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV, wishtv.com, or follow us on Facebook for updates.
Well, Mike Braun responded saying Democrat Jenifer McCormick is a tax and spend liberal, and her plan does nothing to tackle the property tax pain Hoosiers are feeling from the inflation crisis created by Democrats that McCormick endorsed, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Goes on to say my bold property tax plan will give Hoosier homeowners immediate property tax relief by resetting bills to 2021 pre-Biden-Harris inflation levels. Coming up, Indiana's best political team assesses Hogsett's handling of the Thomas Cook scandal and how the city plans to move forward. All right, welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome in two members of Indiana's best political team, Democrat Ariel Brandy and Republican Mario Masalamani. Good to see you both. Let's begin with the scandal surrounding Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett's former chief of staff. Hogsett hasn't said much about it before Monday's speech. Ariel, we'll start with you. Was his apology enough?
I don't think that it was enough. I mean, we're looking at a situation where he had the knowledge of knowing that this was happening, and it wasn't just a one-time occurrence. It's something that has perpetuated within the administration and something that needs to be handled immediately. And so when you have two women who have put forth horrific stories about what has happened to them, and the fact that it has been ignored and there have been no policies or procedures put in place to not only protect and also serve the people that work for you, I think that speaks volumes, not only to how you're conducting your administration, but also to the type of environment that you are allowing take place in your workplace when you were supposed to be someone who is supposed to be not only protecting and serving your constituents, but also the people that work for you. These women have put forth something that is not only traumatic for them, but it's something that they have to relive every day now and now publicly. And the mayor's apology and just saying sorry is not enough.
So what do you want to see done?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been able to see, but the Indiana Democratic Party's Latino caucus put out and really laid out some really great things that we could potentially see forward that the council could actually make movement on by being able to provide mental health care services to victims who have gone through these types of situations in the workplace. Also, I think it's important for us to have a third party entity that comes in to actually conduct some type of audit of this type of environment and this culture that has been perpetuating within the administration. Those are some really key steps that we
could consider.
Sure,
and I
absolutely.
think it would go a long way.
Yeah, and to that point, Mario, Hogsett says his office investigated the complaints back in 2017, but the victims, at least one of them, says that she was never contacted. Is that possible?
I find this extremely egregious that this has been going on for over 7 years, and not to play politics with this, but Indiana Democrats have been talking about how they're trying to protect women's rights. But this is a clear and egregious mark on the Hogsett and the Democrat administration here in Marion County. That this has not only happened twice, but possibly three. There's also a couple of other women that have been talking about coming forward, but are concerned about possible repercussions. Additionally, Friday morning, there has been a petition that's been going forward about a hostile work environment within the Hogsett administration and the Indianapolis mayor's office. So I think there's a lot more to come. I think that if there is an opportunity for an independent consulting group to come in and allow people to air their grievances, I think that you will probably hear a lot more instances of misconduct from the Hogsett administration. Additionally, I think that, this is 2024, that no matter if you're Republican or Democrat, this type of behavior should not be tolerated. Yep. And when it's brought to the attention of a supervisor or the proper authorities, this needs to be handled immediately. This didn't happen once. This didn't happen twice. This, as far as we know, happened at least 3 times. Yeah. And that is unacceptable, no matter what political party you're.
I think we all agree with that, Mario, no doubt. And let me just interject quickly. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're a former prosecutor and currently a criminal defense attorney. So talk about the balance that you have to strike between helping victims and preserving the rights of the accused in a situation like this, if you can. Well,
Here's the thing. There needs to be policies and procedures put in place to make sure that there is an independent, investigation conducted from an employer standpoint, right? And so not only are there possible criminal implications in this matter, because 2 of the women said that they were sexually assaulted by this man. Additionally, as an employer, you don't have the opportunity to be careful or cautious. You need to, when these allegations are brought forward, as an employer, you need to take the proper steps necessary to conduct an investigation, call them in, go through step by step, see if there's corroborating evidence, and then terminate that employee, not allow them to continue working. And then when he came on for the re-election campaign, that's another huge egregious step, because there were 2 prior incidences before this third occurred.
Ariel, will the proposed changes to the city's sexual harassment prevention policy be enough, in your opinion, Ariel, or does something more need to be done?
It's a step and a path forward that we desperately need at this time, but I think it also warrants us, just not only as in a Democratic administration, but as a party too. I remember when I was a young Democrat and I was serving in leadership, and we were calling upon our party to make some of these policy changes within, because it was an issue within campaigns, an issue within the party, an issue within workplaces. This is something that just has been a part of American society, and until we can get a grasp on it and actually call it out for what it is and hold people accountable, we can't keep putting people in positions of power and allowing them to abuse it for the people that are actually trying to help get them elected.
Shouldn't happen anywhere, right?
No, not at all.
Hey, listen, I'm going to quickly, should Hogsett resign? Ariel, you first, and then I'll go to Mario on this.
I mean, if you're in a position of power and in leadership and you're elected and you know that this was a problem, the calls for resignation, I mean, they're kind of valid right now. I mean, you have the opportunity to be able to step up and do something about it. And if you can't take that type of accountability, then being in an elected position, unfortunately, may just not be for you.
Mario?
I have to agree with Ariel. I don't think that he's going to step down. This is his last term. He's got nothing to lose, so he's not going to step down. However, I think that if an independent investigation occurs, I'm curious to see what the facts are as to what Hogsett actually knew and when he knew that. Because if this happened in 2017, then again in 2020, and then a third time, this is clearly he has no regard for women's safety within his administration.
Mario, you're the lawyer here, and it's my understanding that he could be impeached, right?
Who was that question to?
I said to you, Mario, you're the lawyer here, so he can be impeached, right?
Well, I don't think that there, it really depends on what what happens as it pertains to an independent investigation. Yeah. As of right now, he can claim that he didn't have any knowledge, and his, people that were underneath him didn't communicate that information to him. And so, ignorance, while they say it's no defense, I think he's going to argue that he was ignorant to the facts of the specifics as to what was going on. So I think an independent investigation.
All right, you know what? Good conversation. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I'm sure more will come out of this as well. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for joining the show. We will be right back. Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics this week. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. And be sure to tune in at 11 o'clock for The Hill Sunday with Chris Steyerwalt. Have a great rest of your weekend.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.